Sandy is with us. Sandy's in Los Angeles. Hi, Sandy. Welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Hi, Dave.
Hi.
Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I think I believe in wealth, the equality of wealth being spread evenly amongst us all.
Why?
How we get there and the methods, I think, is what people are upset about.
Mm-hmm.
Lobbying groups can go in and lobby your congressman, big corporations, so that Exxon gets a tax refund rather than to pay taxes. Why we subsidize the oil industry when, subsidies are good for startup companies, but obviously we know that these companies are up and running and,
we're talking about individual wealth here. Not Exxon's wealth.
I think
you think that everybody's wealth ought to be distributed equally.
Well, I think the method in which when people say,
go back to that. Answer the question. You think that? Do you think? You said earlier, I think wealth should be distributed equally.
Well, I think yes. Now again, how we get there is going to be a different.
Why should it be distributed equally?
Well, because. See, that's what I'm saying. The method in which we get there, I think if
method comes
hard,
out of the why. Why do you believe it should be distributed equally?
Because I think it makes for a better society. I think when you have too much of a spread, if you have the Robert Barons and Koch brothers in today's today's era,
so you think it makes a better society for everyone, regardless of the effort or talent that they have to make the same amount of money and keep the same amount of money?
It's not going to make society perfect, but it makes it more tolerable. It makes it where people aren't unruly because they feel, hey, they're getting the better of us.
Have you ever read Karl Marx?
Karl Marx? No, I'm not a communist, and
you are. By definition, you are. No, it's not name calling. You truly believe in the even distribution of wealth. It's not name calling. You believe in Marxism. It's exactly what you just outlined.
With all due respect, Dave, I think people want to go back to the way the system worked in the 40s, right after World War II, with the
bread lines,
the Roosevelt era, the new society. And I think people in the long run start seeing that Republicans and some Democrats, they're starting to tear down those opportunities that were once available to us.
What opportunity is not available to some? Wait a minute. If opportunities are available, what does it matter if everyone ends up with the same? Why would I care?
The opportunity has to be there. You can't let a company
now,
go
equal
out of
opportunity I'm okay with, but
free.
Equal distribution is where you and I would part company. But
right. But I mean,
what opportunities are not available that were available in the 40s?
An opportunity that a high school graduate could go and work at a factory and carve out a good living, a nice living, just like my parents did or my grandparents did.
So you don't think a high school graduate can make it in today's society?
It's a little more tougher because the companies aren't there anymore. The factories aren't there, and when they are there, they want to just pay you. Just be thankful you get minimum wage. I mean, come on.
Have you ever visited any of the Nissan plants or any of the Nucor plants that I've visited? There are steel workers in cornfields in Kansas making $100,000 a year working in Nucor factories.
Okay, but I think that's the rare. I mean, not
really.
How many companies are there like that as opposed to how many companies
I think there's a whole lot more of them than maybe you realize. That's my point. I think you're believing a party line or a talking point that you've not really backed up with actual research.
Hey, look, I came out of the church. I was a Christian. And I am a Christian. I feel.
What's that got to do with it?
And I voted Republican because that was the drum that was beat. All the Republicans are the Christian
What's that got to do with what I just said?
Well, because now you're trying to label me that you think I'm a certain party. I'm not.
No, I didn't. I said you were uninformed. That's not a party. I said you believe a party line. Of a party line, a talking point, regardless of a political party, but you believe a talking point that there are no places for a high school graduate to go win in America today. And yet 80% of the current...
Not that there's none, but there aren't
Yeah, 80% of the current generation's millionaires are first-generation rich.
Well, and then that's the other thing. You know, Henry Ford went bankrupt 17 times before he made it big.
17 times? Where did you get that information?
Look
17 times.
I don't, look it up online. You can
17
Google
times.
Information. Now, some of it is going to be true, and some of it's going to be
17 times.
17 times is what my understanding from what I've read.
Yeah. Okay.
You know.
I don't think he would have been doing anything his entire life except going to bankruptcy court had he filed 17 times.
But that was what bankruptcy was for, and you know yourself, it was to get a fresh start so that the creditor still didn't have a stronghold on you.
So you think bankruptcy is a method that Ford used to build wealth?
What's that now?
So your implication is that bankruptcy is the method that Henry Ford used to build wealth?
No, it gave him the opportunity to start over. That's all I'm saying. And now
you can do that
can't
now.
even file bankruptcy and try to start over again because if you make a certain amount of money, then you're going to hold you to payments.
Oh, so you
that's
should.
The difference.
Yeah.
You know, that's all I'm saying is the loophole. I mean, the lobbyists for credit card companies, for big corp.
Yeah.
Have allowed the lobbyists to make these gone into these congressmen to allow these laws, and that's what people feel that the odds are stacked against us.
And so you back to your original statement, and to make sure I have this correct, you believe that wealth should be distributed equally, and you think the devil is in the details. The problem is where all the problems come up is how to do that.
Correct.
Because let me tell you one of the problems for you to consider on an intellectual level. Once it was distributed equally, talent, good looks, energy, and discipline is not distributed equally. And so once it's distributed equally, it won't remain equal.
That's
the problem.
But at least give people the same opportunities, and that's where people I think are getting frustrated.
So I think because we've been telling them they don't have the opportunity, and they started to believe it. Instead of saying this is the land of opportunity where you have the right to pursue happiness, and it's the greatest country the world has ever known. Instead, we're running around going, "Hey, look how rich that guy is, and you'll never get there because the game is fixed." And that's when we stole their opportunity because we stole their hope with this fatalism.
Right, and so we need to address those questions. That's all I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So don't let Exxon, don't quit subsidizing the companies, quit subsidizing these people, that people, this organization, that organization.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. Let me give you an example, though, of what's interesting on that. The very jobs that you were wanting someone to have at a factory, usually come if that factory ends up in your neighborhood. The reason it ends up in your neighborhood is if that municipality gives that company a tax break to come to your neighborhood and build.
And that shouldn't be, because Walmart is the biggest offender of that.
Here's the problem, though. If you don't give them the tax break to come to your neighborhood, those jobs aren't there, and they go to Mexico.
That's not true. That's not true.
Well, they're going to go to another neighborhood. Where do you think plants decide to build? They go where there's tax breaks.
Does that make it right? No, it doesn't make it right. Just because South Dakota gives all the credit card companies carte blanche to do whatever they want, and let's say Indiana won't, so everybody goes and runs to South Dakota. That's not right.
Yeah, those jobs aren't in Indiana. Those people that you were worried about having jobs and opportunity earlier, you took their opportunity away because you're worried about subsidizing that company. I'm not sure I agree with subsidizing these companies, but that's the paradox of it, is if you want a wonderful, big, fabulous company to come to your neighborhood's going to give them a tax break, and that's where those jobs come from. It's called economic development, and it's a paradox. I agree with you on that part. I don't agree with you on hardly anything else, though. And you do need to go read Karl Marx, honestly. You really need to grasp it because how it aligns with your philosophy. And, again, that's not name-calling. It's just you need to grasp what school of thought that you've been sold and bought into, because it's so desperately wrong. This is the Dave Ramsey Show.